Okay, for a while I've been wanting to make a video on how I cured my carpal tunnel syndrome. This was, I think, about the year 2000 that I got carpal tunnel. I'm a professional sax player. I started gigging a lot in the late 90s, and it was within a couple of years that I developed carpal tunnel syndrome, just from all the practicing and playing. That weight on my neck, I think, didn't help. I had bad posture for years before that. I've never been a really athletic person. Being a professional musician is a lot like athletics, as is, sitting at a computer and typing all day. You need to condition your body for those things, and that's something I didn't do back then. Anyway, there were two yoga postures I eventually discovered that cured me, and I was a really bad case. This was not a mild case of carpal tunnel. I couldn't even pick up a glass. I was wearing those braces. I mean, I could barely even use my hands at that point without excruciating pain. If you have carpal tunnel, you know what I'm talking about, where you even try to bend a finger and you get this shooting pain up your wrist, even in your elbow and shoulders. So it was a really serious case. I couldn't even work at all. And it happened fast too. I mean, it was like just within a few weeks of developing the pain that it got extremely bad really fast. Anyway, I being steeped in Western culture, I went to the doctor. You go to the doctor when you're sick, right? Doctor cures you, right? Doctor had nothing but really bad news for me. I mean, he wanted to set me up with a surgeon to talk about doing a surgery that had a 20% success rate. I was not real positive about the idea, but he didn't have anything else. And I asked him about alternative, physical therapy and things, and he just, another typical doctor, didn't have anything to recommend. I mean, he recommends what'll make him money. Even if it doesn't really work. I've run into that problem over and over with various health problems I've had since then, but it's another story. Anyway, tried various things, massage therapy, physical therapy type things, acupuncture. I didn't have really good luck with any of those things. I finally tried yoga. There was a Bikram class near my house. The instructor was really cool, and she told me about two postures that were good for carpal tunnel. And I was skeptical, of course, but to my surprise, they worked. Within 3 months, about 3 months, I would say I was cured. And I was doing it every day. I mean, the thing is like, even though I was skeptical, I was willing to give it a shot. And I went to the first class expecting to just observe, but she, even though I was fully clothed in a hot room, she had me try them. And I couldn't even get into the postures, of course. I wasn't extremely out of shape, but I just wasn't athletic. I was maybe 20 pounds overweight at the time, and I had just never really done anything athletic, and I was stiff all over. I'm just not a flexible person. So it was very difficult for me to even try this, and I was intimidated because it was a class full of these, extremely fit, extremely flexible yoga pro types, and so that was a little intimidating. But I was desperate for something that would help me, and so I tried, and I couldn't even get into the postures. It was so painful, and I was so inflexible. But I noticed something the first time I even tried them, that the pain that I felt when I tried them felt like a positive type of pain. Like, if that isn't even a term, like the kind of pain you might feel when you are stretching a sore muscle, except much more extreme than that. I'd say maybe it's akin to like when you sprain an ankle really bad, and after maybe a week or so, it's still really stiff, and still hurts, but it feels good to stretch it a little bit one way or another. It just, the pulling on those sprained tendons feels good. And this was even more extreme than that, because it was so painful I couldn't even get really into the postures, but even just attempting them gave me that kind of pain. It was so intense that I couldn't keep it up, but it felt like a positive type of pain. So that's, I think, what kind of made me feel like I was onto something with yoga. So I took a leap of faith and bought a month class and started going every day and just attempting it. And, I didn't worry about all the pros that were in there, all the super fit athletic types that were in there. I just focused on myself. And I wasn't the only beginner in there or the only out of shape person. But anyway, I kept at it, and every day I could get a little bit closer to even getting in the posture, like the locust pose. The main one that helped is like laying on your stomach with your palms flat on the floor, and then bringing them underneath you, having your palms flat on the floor and your arms underneath you, and then lifting your legs one at a time and then both together. And I couldn't even get to the point where my palms were flat on the floor, even to the sides, let alone underneath me. I could get them, like, I could get my palms down, but only for a few seconds, and then I'd have to turn them back. But that pain I felt, it felt like the right kind of pain for fixing my condition. And so I kept trying it, and I could get a little further into it. I could keep my palms down for a few more seconds, and then a full minute, and then I could start to get them just sort of underneath me to the sides for just a little bit, and then I'd have to stop and rest again. And I could just get a little bit further and a little bit further every day. And as I got further and further into the postures, into that posture in particular, I noticed concurrently my carpal tunnel pain getting less and less, and my hand, the flexibility, the ability to move my hands, my fingers, increased along with that, along with getting better at the posture and being able to get into it further. So that gave me an incredible amount of hope, whereas before I had none. I don't know if you've ever been in a hopeless situation, a completely depressing, hopeless situation, and then had a little bit of hope come along. It's just like you cling to it with all your might, and it's incredibly motivating when you're in that kind of situation, to just have any little thing come along and give you some kind of possibility of hope. It's incredibly motivating. So I kept at it, and I was doing the class maybe at least once a day, sometimes twice, and then I would go home and I would do the postures again at home. I would attempt them at least. And I got better and better at that. And then I would say it was less than a month that I was playing my horn again, even though there was still some pain. And I would say it was less than 3 months that I was completely cured. I didn't notice any pain anymore. After like less than a month, I knew I was gonna recover. And so I kept at it and kept at it. And then as a side benefit, I got very fit as well. After a few months of doing Bikram every day, sometimes twice a day, and then even practicing the postures at home in between, I started looking like one of those extremely fit, athletic yoga freaks. That was a side benefit of the whole thing, looking better than I'd ever had in my life. And eventually I got sick of it and quit. It gets boring after a while. But the carpal tunnels never really come back. There was a couple of times that the symptoms started returning when I'd been playing a lot, and I would just start doing those postures again. I think once I even went and bought a month of Bikram just to, as a refresher. But I didn't even have to work as hard at it. It's like I fixed something in my body that's never really been, it's never really gotten bad again. And even when I started feeling the symptoms, I got right on top of it. And I've been playing. I mean, as proof, I've been still been playing for the last 15 years. I've continued to be a professional saxophone player and continue to practice, sometimes hours a day, and playing fairly regularly. So anyway, about these postures, some tips. With the locust pose, like I said, it's if you have carpal tunnel, it's going to be very painful to even attempt it at first. But the important thing is to lay on your stomach with your mouth down on the floor. A yoga mat with a towel really helps with this. Is a good thing. But lay on the floor with your feet together, as close as you can anyway. Mouth down on the floor. Or I think actually at first you have your chin on the floor and you're looking forward. But you want to, the important thing is to get your palms flat, and that's going to hurt at first. And then eventually you want to get the arms flat, the arms underneath your body with your palms flat. Eventually with your pinkies touching, that's your goal. When your pinkies touch, then you're really in the posture. But just getting to that point, just the process of getting to that point it did wonders for my carpal tunnel. So that's the most important thing, is that your palms are flat underneath you. You'll see some examples of locust pose where they don't have their palms flat, but that's extremely important if you're using it for carpal tunnel, to do the version with your palms flat on the floor. And the rest of it, I think is also important, like the legs lifting. I think if you're going to lift both legs, you're supposed to put your mouth flat on the floor. That's supposed to protect your neck. So I think that's another good tip for that one. But therapeutically, I think the most important thing is that your palms are flat while laying on your stomach. Okay, so then the other one, bow pulling. That one, I think the main hang up or the main pitfall is that I would do wrong is not grabbing my foot from the outside instead of the inside. You have to, that's the therapeutic part is turning it so your palms face away from your body. The one that's grabbing your foot, it needs to be facing away rather than inside, like thumbs up. Thumbs up is how it's supposed to, your palm's supposed to be. And then you grab your foot from the inside, or at least you attempt. Like at first you're probably going to have to hold on to something with your other arm to balance. And it's going to be very difficult, especially if you're not very flexible. It's going to be very difficult to grab your foot. But you just do your best and you keep attempting it. Keep attempting. Just in the attempting it has therapeutic value. Now that one had the locust pose, the bow pulling pose. I'd say was not nearly as helpful as the locust pose, but it also was helpful, and I think in a different way. It kind of twists the tendons rather than stretching them long ways, which is also helpful. But in my experience, it was the locust pose was the important one. But both of them were very helpful. Anyways, I think that it's best at first if you've never done yoga to go to a class, like someone to supervise, because this is a very physical activity, and if you go too far too fast with it, you can hurt yourself, just like anything physical. So if you're going to do it on your own, for whatever reason, like on YouTube videos, YouTube instructionals, or out of a book or whatever, I would say just take it slowly. That's the most important part of that. Just take it slowly, a little bit at a time. Now I think, like I said, the pain that you feel when you're stretching your wrists with your palms on the floor, laying on them, that's pretty much a good pain, and I don't think you can really hurt yourself doing that. But you can, like there was one time when I hadn't done it in a long time and I'd gotten out of shape again, and I tried locust pose, and I went too far too fast with it, and I think I dislocated a rib or something. I had some pain in there, and I had to have a chiropractor pop my back to get my rib back in the right spot. But that's the worst I ever hurt myself doing yoga, and I did it a lot. Um, but if I had just gone more slowly with it, I never would have hurt myself. So anyway, do it at your own risk. Anyways, I'm not a professional, but this was a miracle for me. It was a miracle for my yoga, and it's possible it could be for you too. I know it helped a lot of other people with their carpal tunnel too. There was one person who said it didn't cure her, but most people I know that have tendonitis or carpal tunnel in their arms, these postures are immensely helpful. And for me, it was a godsend. Completely cured me. So, okay.